Good evening, NABJ family, and welcome to our Candidates Forum, where we have candidates who are running unopposed. Before we get to tonight's event, we know that many NABJ members are going through some tough times right now, and some NABJ members may have lost loved ones and things like that. And so we just want to open up, and we do not want to forget them. So let us just have a moment of silence just to put our strength with their strength, our faith with their faith, so things will work out. So let's have a moment of silence. Amen, amen, amen. So listen, this is our first candidates forum, and my name is Dedrick Russell. I am a reporter at WBTV in Charlotte, North Carolina. I received my job through NABJ, so I know NABJ works. I have been at WBTV for 18 years. I have also the former two-term chapter president for the Charlotte Area Association of Black Journalists, one-term Region 3 director, and one-term vice president of broadcast. So we are going to get this started because I know you want to hear from the candidates. If you have any questions at all, please put that in the chat. You can either send that to me, you can do it anonymous, or you can send it to everybody, and we will get to your questions. Here are the rules. We're going to open up, and these are the rules that Melanie Eversley, that she sent. She is the chair of the election committee, and she is the timekeeper. So she is going to be true to the rules. You will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. You will have 2 minutes to answer questions. You will have 1 minute to rebut if someone said something that you disagree with. And you will have 1 minute each for closing statements. Let's now introduce our candidates. We're going to start with Eva Coleman. She is a lifestyle and culture editor at iMessenger Media in Dallas, and she is a candidate for Region 3 director. Good evening, Eva. Tell us something about you.
Good evening, and thank you so much for the opportunity. To our founders, our president, Dorothy Tucker, and other members of the board of directors for NABJ. I'm Eva Coleman, and I'm running for NABJ Region 3 director. At this time, is this when I give my opening statement? Or
yes,
with introductions? Okay.
Yes, this is your opening statement.
And thank you so much, Dedrick, for moderating this evening. Again, I'm running for NABJ Region 3 director, and I want us to be known as 3 the Hard Way. Now, if you're unfamiliar, 3 the Hard Way is a blaxploitation film from the 70s. And these 3 bad brothers came together to stop a plan by people of the other persuasion of infiltrating and putting toxins in the water supply to eradicate our people. Now, it's my mission to ensure that our stories and our voices are not silenced. And that is why I am running for NABJ Region 3 directors. We must uphold the mission that our founders had for this organization when they founded it so many years ago. I am so committed and dedicated to ensuring that there is inclusivity, equality, and preparedness among our members in the region. I'm currently the lifestyle culture editor for iMessenger Media, as Moderator Russell mentioned. I am so heavily involved with NABJ and have been for many years, since the mid-90s. I'm the current president of the Dallas-Fort Worth Association of Black Journalists, and I've served NABJ in a number of capacities, including as National Convention Chair. I chaired the NABJ Convention in 2018 in Detroit and co-chaired the National Convention in Miami in 2019. And again, it is my mission to ensure that our voices are not silenced, that our members are prepared. I thank you so much for the opportunity. I ask that you vote for me because although I'm running unopposed, it's important that you exercise your right to vote, to give me your vote of confidence. That is very, very important to me. And I'm so honored to be here, and I look forward to your questions this evening.
Thank you, Eva. Next up, we have Tamia Fowlkes. She is a student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and she is the candidate for student representative. Good afternoon or good evening, Tamia.
Hi, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Dedrick. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. My name is Tamia Fowlkes, and as Dedrick said, I am the NABJ student representative candidate, and I go to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm so thrilled to be running for this position because I have an extremely deep passion for advocating for and representing students. And so I was thrilled when this opportunity came along to advocate for and to create more opportunities for students to not only engage, but to connect on a deeper level through NABJ. One of the things that I think is so intimidating and so scary for young journalists entering this field is not feeling as if they have people by their sides to uplift them and to hold them up in their experience of entering the journalism field. And for me, in my role, I hope to expand opportunities for students to engage in work and in activities and in collaborations that allow them to feel secure and uplifted in this space, and also to collaborate with all the wonderful members of the board of directors to make meaningful and incredible programming for all of the members of NABJ. And I'm so honored to get the opportunity to speak in front of all of you and to be here and to be an advocate and a representative for students in this way. So thank you all for coming and for attending and listening to us all tonight. On my campus, I'm very involved in nonpartisan voting work, so I certainly understand the meaning and the importance of a vote. And so I ask for any of students who are on this call to vote for me, and also to recognize that this is so incredibly important, and I'm so excited to hopefully serve all of you in the future.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tamia. Next, we have Brie Jackson. She's a national correspondent with Hearst Television in Washington, D.C., a candidate for Region 1 Director. Good evening, Brie.
Good evening, Dedrick, and thank you all for having me here. Thank you all for joining. I'm running for Region 1 Director. I've been a member of NABJ for about 15 years. And like many of us, I have benefited from the programming as well as the networking at NABJ. I've gotten several jobs through NABJ. And so my goal as Region 1 Director, if elected, is to enhance some of the programs that we have. I think we have some good programs in place already, and in particular when it comes to mentoring. But part of my platform is to enhance those programs and also to have a focus on seasoned journalists to make sure that we are helping mid-career journalists advance their careers as well. I'd also like to continue to develop some programs. We're seeing more and more females that are taking on leadership and management positions during this time. And I think it's important that we have a support system for them. And we also have opportunities for them to have programs so that they know, they don't hit what they call that glass cliff, I think is what they call it, but where they don't have the resources and support that they need to be successful. So I want to make sure that those that have been able to reach those management and leadership positions have that. I also would like to make sure that we continue to have resources to help journalists. I think, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's the racial reckoning that America has gone through, I think in particular, Black journalists have been impacted in a way that others may not have been. So I want to make sure that we have resources such as mental health resources and things that journalists can have just to make sure that they are mentally and physically healthy when we're out there covering all these stories. So I think there's another part, I guess, that a lot of people have touched on, but, I guess all of us are running unopposed, but it's still the importance of voting. Working on Capitol Hill, that's what we know we're talking about right now. So I do not take your vote for granted, and I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Bria. Next, we have Ken Lemon. He is a reporter at WSOC in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he is the candidate for Vice President Broadcast. Good evening, Ken.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for giving me this time to speak with you guys. Again, I'm running unopposed, but just writing my name down and then taking your vote is not fair. It is really stealing. So I want you to know a couple of things. Number one, I want you to know about the individual who is asking for your vote, who will represent you as VP of Broadcast, and the things that I've done, the things that I want to do. Real quickly, I am a two-term president and a founding member of the reestablished Charlotte Area Association of Black Journalists. From there, I went on to be deputy director for 4 years, director of Region 3 for a couple of years. I see some people here who've been instrumental in my work, several people here on both sides of this, instrumental in my work in that as well, and our work in that as well. VP of Broadcast, Black Male Media Project Chairperson, Chairman of Council of Presidents, Chairman of the Hurricane Relief Fund. What it means is that I'm a glutton for punishment. I love working for you. It's not easy. It's a lot of work. I get home, I do work, I go back and forth with my family about spending time with them, but I enjoy doing this and I get a benefit from it. And I love taking an idea, a project, and seeing it come to fruition and actually change lives. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm asking for your vote. And I hope to tell you a little bit more about what I want to do with your vote in the coming hour or so, I guess, hopefully.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ken. Next, we have Amir Vera. He is a writer at CNN in Atlanta, and he is candidate for Vice President Digital. Good evening, Amir.
Can you all hear me? It's been, hey, what's going on? Can you all hear me? I'm just making sure because my Wi-Fi has been wonky and some of you guys are freezing a little bit. Okay, but as you said, thank you all for having me tonight. I'm Amir Vera and I'm running for NABJ's VP of Digital. I currently work at CNN as a writer, and prior to that, I was at Virginia's largest paper known as the Virginian Pilot in Norfolk, Virginia. And prior to that, I was at the Progress Index in Petersburg, Virginia. I'm also a graduate of Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, also known as VCU. As far as my plans for digital, I just want to define what it means for NABJ. I've seen through talking with various members that there's no real consensus as to what digital means. Some think it's about using tools, others think it's about being an influencer, and I know some just think it's about being like the Shade Room. I'm here to say it's about being all those things and beyond. Being digital is about having the mindset and the strategy to grow and attract audiences, which includes everything I just stated. I want that to be consistent throughout NABJ and in journalism, period, so we can not only work in the digital space, but also allow members to understand that their skills can transfer into the digital space. For example, a page designer at a newspaper would make for a great homepage editor on the digital side. Outside of digital, I also want to make sure that the process of becoming a leader in NABJ is easier. I come from the Atlanta chapter where we just dealt with the situation of financial misuse. I know that's happened to other chapters, and I want to ensure that there's language in the national bylaw so that doesn't happen again. This includes a clear handoff process between the incoming and outgoing board that involves signatures and not just a simple handoff. Lastly, the experience I bring to this job comes from a local perspective. I was the PR chair for the Hampton Roads Black Media Professionals, the NABJ chapter in Norfolk, Virginia, and I also served as the VP of Print prior to becoming president of the Atlanta chapter.
Thank you, Amir. And last but not least, we have Madison Carter. She is an investigative journalist at WXIA in Atlanta, and she is candidate for secretary. Good evening, Madison.
Good evening. Thank you so much for that introduction. I like the emphasis you put on that investigative journalist.
I'm gonna give you your props. Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I mean, it's a great leader. I'm gonna try to switch up my spiel because a lot of people on this call have heard my little thing. So let me not bore you all. Like you said, candidate for secretary. Just touched down in Atlanta. I work for Tegna's national team as an investigator. We do long form docuseries. So I think a lot of people probably know me from Twitter. I be giving people that work. So I think that's how a lot of journalists learned my name, especially when I was up in Buffalo. And we did a lot of work when I was president of the Buffalo Association of Black Journalists there. And I think if there's anything I want you all to know about me, and if you've seen me before through my work, through my advocacy, through my position, like people know that I am about my business. So running for the candidate of secretary, I know most people, before I became president, I was like, I don't know what the secretary do, but like, I hope he or she is just doing her job. I don't think it affects me. But from being president, I know how important this job is to that executive board, keeping a record of what happened, because I'm gonna tell you, when tensions get high, nobody knows what happens anymore. Everybody has a different account of what actually went down. So it really is an important role. And I think that while, you may not think that the role of secretary impacts you day to day, I think any opportunity to be an officer of an organization is an opportunity to elevate a position. It gives me a seat at the table. I love doing advocacy work. I want to be in the room as NABJ, really ramps up this advocacy effort on a national scale. I want to be in those meetings, and I think I do good work there. And also, as it affects you, I'd love to bring more accessibility to what's actually going on. I've been a member for a number of years, and I can tell you not one thing that goes on with the chapters, and sometimes it's juicy. sometimes there's some drama going down in those meetings, and like, I want to peep. So I think that it's just a great opportunity. If I'm, well, I hope I'm elected. I'm running unopposed. I hope to bring new ways of bringing, the minutes, the platforms, an explanation of what that board is doing. Okay, I think that's my time.
All right, then. Thank you so much. We're going to get into the Q&A. And remember, if you have a question for any of the candidates, just go into the chat, write it down, and we will recognize you. Let's start with this question. All of you are running unopposed. Once upon a time in NABJ, a lot of people were interested in running for office. Tell me, are you concerned about NABJ not, engage with this, or is what it is? How would you address that? And is that an issue for you? Is that a problem with you? We're going to start with Eva, and then Tamia, and then Brie.
Well, thank you so much for that question, Dedrick. It actually saddens me that so many of us are running unopposed, because for an organization that has done so much for so many, I am truly saddened by it. But I also understand that we are in an era in our lives where a lot of people are hurting right now. But in addition to the people that are hurting right now, there are also people who are healing, also people who are surviving and also thriving as a result of NABJ. And again, I just decided, why not me? Step up. I've served as deputy director under 3 different regional directors. Again, step up, do the work. Someone has to do it, because I think that our founders deserve that. Our members deserve that. And so, although I'm saddened, I'm not disappointed, because I know, what? It's time to get in there and make it do what it do.
Gotcha. Got to make it do what it do. Gotcha. Tamia, give me your thoughts about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with Eva's sentiments. And I, from a student perspective, think that for us, a lot of the time it comes from a feeling of imposter syndrome and not necessarily knowing if you are ready for or prepared to take on a position like this. I felt it myself, even in putting out my own candidacy application. And so for me, the one thing that I am excited to do in coming to this position and just being in NABJ generally and talking about it on my campus is making students more confident and secure in this role. I think it is very intimidating, but one thing that we can do more of is empowering and uplifting younger people and all journalists within this field, especially those of color, to feel more confident in this space. And I think that that's something that you encounter throughout your career. I'm prepared to encounter it again in the future, but something that I was able to overcome in running for this position. And that excites me, is knowing that it is possible to overcome it and to move forward and make a positive difference.
Gotcha. Tamia, talk to me.
Is that me picking it up, Brie, or is it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Tamia.
It's all good. I'll pick it up from here.
Tamia.
I'll pick it up from here. But I think
yes.
I do agree with what Eva and Tamia said. In part, I do think this year has just been challenging and different for everyone, not just Black journalists. And so I don't know if I was necessarily surprised that not as many people were running, only because I think people's priorities shifted because of the pandemic and because of everything that we were going through. I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't have a opponent, because hopefully that means I can get elected to this position, because for me, I felt the timing was important, that I was I'm in a place in my career where I feel as though I can give back to this organization that has helped me so much. So I found the timing to be beneficial for me to jump into this race. But I'm not necessarily concerned. I'm just hoping that it is a fluke, that we can get more journalists engaged in the coming years, now that we are coming out of the pandemic, and hopefully we can continue to have success and build upon the success and get more people involved. So that is my hope, is that it's more of a fluke, and that people are getting re-energized. But I'm happy to have the opportunity to take part in this.
Good. Madison, talk to us.
Absolutely. Obviously it's a difficult year, but I also feel that at the same time, I think that there's this gap, and I've talked about it a lot in a lot of forums. I think so many journalists have given so much to this organization. They've tried to build it up, but what's happened is there's a gap between our veterans and our seasoned journalists who, like Tamia was saying, we're like, oh yeah, they lead. They're the leaders. We're going to come up after you. But where was the grooming, for the next generation? I've seen this last administration really, if you look at our board right now, like this is the most, intermixing of different generations we've seen in a long time. And hopefully that'll be added to with the election that's coming up. But I think that it's really just a gap. There's a new generation of journalists coming up who aren't quite feeling prepared. And there's some journalists who are like, I gave it to you. I did what I came to do. So that's something I really am hoping to do, is to bridge that gap, if elected in August.
All right, thank you, Madison. Mr. Ken, talk to us.
Yeah, so look, 2020 was a hard year, and just surviving working was difficult. Asking people to pick up the pieces of everything that they've gone through and experienced is difficult, and then jump in the horse and get involved with NABJ. And the other thing that really kind of separates us is we didn't have regional conferences last year. We didn't have a national convention last year. We didn't get to touch and feel people in that way. And some of us, quite honestly, were suffering with COVID and suffering with the effects of George Floyd. So here's how you solve this. One thing that I'm proudest of is that last year, Black Male Media Project worked on changing the style guide. It was a simple change. And typically what you do is you get two people, you sit down and you craft out something. I didn't want to do that. What I did is I went to our core group, our committee, and I said, everybody go out and bring in 3 people. And we brought in 3 people, and we engaged them over a 2.5-month process where we not only reshaped the style guide, but we said, we're going to give ammunition to everybody who wants to argue with the manager about why that should be changed. So what does that do? That creates buy-in, but it also gets other people involved in the process. Now we know that there are at least 17 other people who know exactly how NABJ works, who knows how to start from just putting it down on paper to making it actually policy that we can implement, and we can show we can take this anywhere else. So that's some of the things that we need to do, and some of the things that I'm going to do going forward to make sure people are familiar. So when you talk about raising your hand to run for an office, it doesn't sound foreign to someone. They're already familiar with how that process works.
All right, then. Thank you, sir. And then we're going to end with Mr. Amir. Talk to us, sir.
Hey, so I just want to say I agree with what Ken and Madison had said, but for the most part, I noticed that a lot of the other candidates have said that, this has been a difficult year and everything like that. And it, for all intents and purposes, it has been a difficult year. But from my standpoint, in the chapters I've been involved with, this is something that goes down to the local levels, and it's been happening. There's always been an issue of getting people involved and getting people fired up to run for office. Matter of fact, in the HRBNP chapter and in the Atlanta chapter, most of the time it's been like, they find somebody that's been super involved and then they just push them into the position. And, there's nothing wrong with that. It happened to me. It's cool. I thrived, for the most part, I thrived in the position, but I think it's all about, as Madison said, grooming members. Like, it's not just because what I've seen is that it's usually like the same members over and over and over again that are doing things, but like a lot of people don't know how they can get involved. And I think having like leadership seminars, I've spoken at a lot of presidents forums and a lot of forums recently about just getting more people involved in I said presidents forums, but just getting more people involved through like leadership forums and things like that. So that's how I think we solve that issue.
Do you think that strategy works? Because that has been done for years. Do you think that works?
I think it can work if we get the communication out there, because again, a lot of people just don't know that these things are going on. And I'm speaking from experience from a local level. And I know that, and again, it goes back to my point that we have the same people doing the same things over and over and over again. If we just start bringing in new people and then we show them the benefit of being an officer and the benefit that NABJ does for them, then I think that, we can continue doing that.
And if I can add to this point, is that allowed? It's not a rebuttal, it's just a little popcorning. I do think identifying the next leaders is an effective method to do this. In every position of leadership that I stepped into, I wasn't like, ooh, let me do this. It was, Madison, I see this in you. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm busy. And it was like, yeah, but who else is going to do this if you don't? And I'm like, so it took a leader, it took a mentor to convince me that I can take this on. I can take on this role. And then, when I was president, my one regret was I had a quick exit from Buffalo and I wasn't able to groom someone else to come in. And that caused a lot of harm and a lot of damage to this chapter that I spent so much time building up. So yeah, if you're not identifying somebody and working with them over a period of time, then our organization will fall apart.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Let's talk about the pandemic. This is the second year we are going virtual with our NABJ convention. Tell me your thoughts about moving forward with our new normal as it comes with our conventions, our regionals, and things like that. Talk to me about that. What are your ideas to keep that going? Or do you think it needs to keep going, or we need to do away with it and just meet in person? We're going to start this time with Tamia.
Absolutely. Well, I think that this is the topic that I am especially interested in because having entered NABJ as a freshman and not getting to attend the conference my first year in, my first experiences with NABJ were mostly virtual. And for me, it was a really groundbreaking experience in that I recognized that you can still have really meaningful experiences online, but there's also just a deep value in getting to know people and establish connections that if you don't make those relationships, you won't feel as engaged with the organization. I think in my first few months in NABJ, I felt like I was a fish out of water. It was really challenging for me to feel comfortable entering those spaces by myself and not knowing anyone. And I think for students especially, having community is so incremental to the way that they immerse themselves into this organization. I had the privilege of attending NABJ short course earlier this year in March and met so many incredible students who were able to build community with, and we still talk to each other, bounce ideas off of each other, establish connections in that way. And it's been so valuable to me and has increased my love for NABJ so much. And so in coming into the student representative position, one thing that I really want to focus on doing is establishing long-term forums for students to have these connections, maintain conversation with one another, establish relationships, because it's so deeply valuable to the everyday way that you're participating in your journalistic practice, you're feeling supported by your community, and also just utilizing all the resources that we have in this virtual setting, whether that be on social media or in meetings or just online generally. It's super important to have those types of relationships. So I think there's both a value in the in-person, but there's also a value in maintaining the online.
Gotcha. As a student representative, tell us, what are students telling you that is an issue that they want fixed, that they are depending on you to make it happen? What are the students telling you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that you hear from students a lot is the challenge of dealing with intergenerational newsrooms, which I think is a conversation that we're having a lot right now. There's a lot of different perspectives that younger people bring into a newsroom that sometimes can be challenging to deal with. The way that we talk about issues is different sometimes than our older editors or people that we're working with in the newsroom. And so for students, a lot of the things that they want to do is to have that direct conversation with elders who have been working in this organization and in the journalism field for a long time. And especially for people who are not in this organization and are in their newsrooms who don't identify with the Black experience, just creating a more safe space for them to share their experiences and how they feel sometimes discouraged to pursue stories or issues that they're really passionate about in the newsroom without feeling belittled or as if they don't know what they're talking about. So I think that that's one thing that I really want to focus on as well, is kind of like Madison said, bridging that gap, making people feel supported as if they can move into these positions in the future with confidence and with positive relationships with people who are older than them.
Wow, thank you. We're going to hear next from Brie. Talk to us, Brie.
When it comes to the in-person versus virtual conference, I think there are just huge benefits when it comes to the in-person conference and just being able to get that just collectiveness, getting everyone together and being able to see people again. But I do think, just like newsrooms have learned, there are some things that we can do that we learned from the pandemic that we can do virtually that are beneficial. I think some of the programs that came out of the pandemic were beneficial, and that's something I would hope NABJ would continue to have. And then I think something that we've heard touched on in some of these forums is that I think the regional conferences are beneficial. And I think just being able to really have or strengthen those regional conferences would be beneficial to people, because the national conference is so huge. Sometimes you don't get to build those connections, or you just don't have that face-to-face time with people like you'd really want to, because they're just trying to, get people through. So I do think that's important. And then I guess, was there a second question you were asking?
You're on mute, Dedrick.
What do you have to say about this, sir?
Yeah, you're coming to me. Well, look, there are a couple of benefits. The first benefit is, and let me say this one thing too before I say about the benefit of doing this, of doing some things virtually and not all things virtually, because there's nothing like being at a workshop and looking over your shoulder and seeing Michelle Norris behind you. And then understanding, if I find value in this, and Michelle Norris, who certainly knows her stuff working with NPR, finds value in this, this is a valuable workshop. There's nothing like meeting people for networking, for growing, for development, face to face. I've made more friendships in this industry in the lobby of an NABJ conference than anything else. The other aspect of this, though, that we can't ignore, and one of them is that not everyone can afford to pick up and go to the conference. And some of our younger journalists and our college journalists, they can't do that. But having the opportunity to get in and to learn means something. And for some of those people who now work in those corporate levels, the budget isn't there like it used to be. It's not as strong. But for them to be able to say, I can still meet with people without leaving my office, but have an opportunity to engage, offers an opportunity not only for them to say, now there's no excuse why you can't be here, but also offers an opportunity for us to work with people, and they're targeted. So there's an opportunity also for us now to target what we do, so that people aren't just walking out, 1 year out of college and trying to go to ESPN, but now being able to understand what it means to have that job at Tegna, or have that job at another company or corporation that'll give them that lift. And then the thing that I've learned from people already here, and that is this, that is, some people really want to engage and might be there. But if you offer the opportunity for them to watch a plenary, a session at a regional, a thing or two here or there, they're going to be more engaged. They're going to think about coming. They're going to think about participating in a way they wouldn't if they simply couldn't be there and they didn't watch. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's go to Brother Amir. Talk to us.
So I just want to say that I understand that what NABJ is going through and the decisions that need to be made in going virtual. I'm in a lot of group chats with a lot of journalists around my age and older, but a lot of people, they were wondering why this year didn't go virtual, and got to obviously explain to people like how contracts work, and you can't just make a split decision in July, like, oh, we're not going to do this convention, and then be on the hook for millions of dollars, as like what happened last year. But I think what NABJ is doing really well this year is that even though we're virtual, they're trying to engage members. So like the watch party, for example, I think that's a great and innovative idea, especially digitally. I am running for VP of Digital. So I think that's a very innovative idea, because it's not just like, the organization didn't just give up. They weren't just like, all right, we're just going to do virtual. It's going to be the same thing last year, but they're actually making strides to do things, to get different chapters involved. And I really like that. And I think that can also work on a regional and a local level. So like if there's regional, sorry about that sound, it's my Slack. But if we're working on like a regional and a local level, like if there's a regional conference, then who's to say all the chapters in the States can't have similar watch parties or a similar like get-togethers like that. And so, yeah, I just really like that about NABJ, and I think that's what they can do going forward, having those hybrid conventions just like that.
Gotcha. Let's go with Madison and then Eva.
Sure. From going to different candidate forums with the different chapters, I've been hearing this come up a lot, and I've been listening. And a lot of the discussion is centered around the cost, right? So let's like convention, it's the Black family reunion. I want to go to see all my friends, see all the people I follow on Instagram or Twitter, like, all these, like, it's so fun. There's nothing that can replace that networking experience. But then also going to some virtual conferences, NABJ as well as IRE, I see a benefit there. You know, you always are looking at what's going on at NABJ, and you're like, I want to be at this session and that session at the same time, but I can't, right? So virtually, I'm able to catch up. I'm able to see more, get more content, but it takes away the networking. But just in terms of transparency and access, what I really am running on, I think that's what members are upset about. They're like, what is all this money going toward? I want to know more about where that money is so that I can make a decision about whether I feel like it's worth it for me. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's something that, you know, if I'm elected to office, hopefully, again, I keep saying that, like there's somebody running against me. You know, once I get there, I'd love to talk with the board about like, hey, we've been listening to members, all of us in these sessions. Let's figure out how to give people more information, right? They're upset because I just don't know where my money is going. So I think that's something that we can really work on as a board in terms of transparency to let people decide. Yeah, Ken. Sorry, that's your job, Dedrick. My bad.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken. 1 minute.
I did forget, and I want, if I could take a moment to clarify, my argument is that we're going to be hybrid at some point, and we should be hybrid at some point. Not that we should, you know, there's some for both. We need to be hybrid at some point because there are too many benefits in virtual for us to completely ignore that. So I apologize, I didn't say that.
Eva, we'll end with you.
Okay, thank you so much. There's no denying that the NABJ National Convention is the biggest love fest ever. We come together and we have so much fun together. But I do know that the virtual convention model opened up a lot of opportunities for success that I think so many people were not aware of. I think merging the two or having options of both all merged together would be a benefit. It's important, I think, that we get out of that model of plan, convention, and then the rest of the year, you know, it's kind of quiet. But I think it's so important that programming is year-round, consistently year-round. And, you know, it's all about access, information, education, power. If you're able to access those sessions, not just during convention time, but on it could be a pay-per-view model or some type of way to access the information or the sessions and revisit them. That's some success that you can get from that to help increase revenue in your organization as well. But it's also empowering people to take that information and go forward successfully. So I think both models are great and have their great aspect. And we do love to hug on each other, you know, or fist bump each other or however we got to do it. But we love that. But both models have their pluses, their benefits, and I think that they could work well in a hybrid capacity.
Okay, we have some questions coming in. This is for Amir. Amir, the question is, what do you believe NABJ is lacking when it comes to digital, and how can you fill the void? What do you believe NABJ is lacking when it comes to digital, and how can you fill the void?
I think the biggest thing that NABJ is lacking, frankly, is that a lot of our members just don't know the jobs that are offered in the digital space. So, for example, in 2018, I worked at the CNN booth in Detroit, and I had a partner of mine who's now the VP of Digital in Atlanta. He's a programmer at CNN. And we just spoke about how, because I'm a writer, he's a programmer. We just spoke about how many people would come to the CNN booth wanting to be anchors, reporters, correspondents. And then, you know, nobody knows what, you know, I tell them I'm a writer and they're like, oh, you write for a show. And I'm like, no, I write for the app, I write for the website. So a lot of people just don't understand the jobs in digital out there. And, you know, I said it during my opening case, like even in the print world or even in the broadcast world, a lot of people don't understand that they transfer between the worlds, which, you know, is obviously coming to the digital space. And I think, you know, just offering workshops and offering workshops, which, you know, obviously creates pipelines, will help NABJ members to understand the jobs in digital and how digital works. And that's, you know, that's how I plan to do that, by, you know, like already working with different companies. Like I'm already talking to the Tegna VP of Digital. She contacted me as soon as I put out my flyer. So yeah, that's just how I plan to do that.
To everyone, traditionally, NABJ has always been a broadcast news-focused organization. How can we be more inclusive moving forward? How can we engage other occupations like communications directors? Communication directors, higher education journalism professors, and etc. We're going to start with Ken, Amir, Madison, Eva, Tamia, Brie.
Okay, I can never forget higher education professionals. I live with one. I'm engaged to one, and so she will never let me forget about them. But I think those other areas are so pivotal to what we do. And if we lose touch with them, we lose a lot. A lot of those people in PR are close friends of mine, and I've worked with them consistently, not only to keep the opportunity, access the opportunity for fundraising available, but because they help teach us a lot. One of them called me just a few weeks ago, and we're working now on a process because we know that a lot of people who are in print and broadcast are moving out of those areas, moving into PR. And while they know how to put together a great resume to get a job in journalism, they don't quite know how to do the same thing in PR. So we're working on a session that does that. They're integral and they're important, and we need to be engaging them in that way. Our best way to touch our students, the people who are coming up next to replace us, to tell the stories, to continue the lineage of making sure that Black stories are being told, is to do that through the colleges and universities. So one thing that I do is I every year rent a van. And I bring a couple of our journalists, a few of our journalists from the Charlotte area. We go to North Carolina A&T and we do a Fall Media Institute. Tamia, I think you were involved in the short course that I helped mentor. I'm back on that campus. I'm on the campus of Winthrop University, when and where I can, working with those professors there to help make sure that we craft an experience that'll let our students, while they're in college, be prepared as possible to step up and not only take the jobs that we have, but take better jobs than what we have coming out. So it is keeping that communication on a one-on-one basis and making sure that as we do programming, it includes people in other areas.
Thank you. Amir, you're up next.
I think when it comes to including other members, I think a big thing that NABJ does very well on the broadcast side is we team up with different companies. So I got my current job through the CNN workshop. I also went through the NBC University workshop twice. I think that, and obviously that's a two-way street. We reach out to NBC, we reach out to CNN, they work with us, stuff like that. I think, reaching out to places like the New York Times, the Washington Post, other big regional papers, the LA Times, and doing some would also help, bring in more print members and stuff like that. And then not even just on the print side, but also doing that with different types of with the different types of members that we have. So like, we have like a digital university for our digital members. We have a PR university with the different PR members. And even in the Atlanta chapter, I speak from experience with the Atlanta chapter, we have a lot of people down here who are like their own brand ambassadors and things like that. Or we have a lot of people who are in the film and entertainment industry. I know a lot of our NABJ members are in the entertainment industry. How cool would it be to have like a ET university or like an E university or something like that. A bunch of people have that, and we can obviously weed out the more competitive members like that, and that's how we get more Black faces in these spaces where they lack Black faces.
Let's go to Madison and then Eva.
Absolutely. So I was in Region 1 before, and listen, the devil works hard, Kris Jenner works harder, Tori Parrish works the hardest. Because when I talk about grooming and helping me, she's the current Region 1 director. This is something she, beat into my brain, and because I wasn't getting it. Broadcasters have a tendency to think that our industry or like this side of the profession is the only thing that exists. Like, I'm guilty of it, but she would always be calling me. Are you communicating with professors? Are you calling over to the universities? And it helped remind me, I cannot do my job without these other fields. PR, I couldn't do a thing. I'm gonna talk to you all I want, but if there's nobody to get the word out, then what am I doing? I need PR, I need professors. And then when they would come to me with jobs, right? I think this is the really important part, universities and that relationship, the NABJ it should be really strengthening. It's because those are where people are getting some of their entry-level jobs. People would send me jobs, hey, who do you have for this? I said, hey, what's it paying? And they give me the number and I'm like, oh, you want a grown-up for this job? And they're like, so they started hiring right out of college, right? They said, if you have a good college student, can you send them my way? And I didn't, because we didn't have strong relationships with some of the colleges. They're especially looking for students at HBCUs. So I think this is a huge opportunity to really get those younger members involved. I saw a question come in, get younger members involved. Why should I pay my dues? Because I can help you get a job. People are bringing me jobs specifically for you. So honestly, I just think that this is one of the biggest areas of growth for NABJ and something that we can really, really work on to get younger members engaged.
Thank you, Madison. Eva, we're going to go to you.
Okay, when people ask me what do, I say all things media. I've done radio, TV, and newspaper here in Dallas-Fort Worth for over 27 years. And for the past 17 years, going into an 18th year as a media educator, a high school media educator at that. I work in a school district that has media programs as young as our elementary level. All of our middle schools in the school district where I am have media programs, and every single high school. I'm also a college professor here in the area as well. It's making sure that people know and understand the value that each of those entities bring. I'm a broadcaster, yes. I'm a journalist, I'm a writer. All of those things are connected. And so once we understand that, and I can actually speak the language in all of those different arenas, that's very important as well. And understanding that there are intricacies that they each bring, but valuing them and valuing the visionaries in all of those arenas to put off that energy, that education, the forethought, to do it and to bring people along. I've always groomed people for this industry that I love so much. That has always been a mission of mine. And also there are so many different student-based media organizations that are huge. I actually serve on the board of directors for several of them as well. But again, value each position, each industry, each medium. I've been doing multimedia long before it was the buzzword to use. And so I think that's key in making sure that our programming is reflective of that and that we value what each area brings.
Thank you. Tamia, and then Brie.
Yes, I completely agree with what Eva was just saying. I think that valuing every aspect of this industry is so critical, especially for students, given that a lot of them do feel sometimes pigeonholed with a lot of the opportunities that are granted to them and unsure of where exactly they want to go in the field of journalism. And so I think even integrating opportunities for students to expand on their professional skills in terms of business journalism or marketing in things like the student newsroom, where they get an opportunity to lead or figure out how they will market this to a wider audience, spread the message that NABJ is producing and working on throughout their programming. Things like that would be really beneficial for students to gain exposure to. And in that same way, I think that utilizing the resources that the members offer and doing more audience engagement with our NABJ members and seeing what they can offer to the full body of people who are participating in these programs would be beneficial as well. Having forums regularly with higher education professors who can speak about what's happening in the media industry, or bringing people in who have expertise in marketing and PR to see how we can better reach audiences that aren't directly connected to NABJ through a chapter, for example. That's all beneficial to us in building our community and further building out NABJ to reach a wider audience. So I think any opportunity to expand on the skills that are available to us in the organization and recognizing where we're not reaching people presently will be really critical. And I think that first starts with asking the question to the people who are in this organization of what they think is missing, and then building off of that.
Thank you. We got to build. We're going to end with Brie.
Well, and I'll build off of what Tamia said. I think she made an excellent point. In order for us to reach a wider audience, we do need to engage those other parts of the communication field as a whole. And I think something that Madison had touched on too, Tori's the current Region 1 director, and it's something that she's emphasized talking with me, is just the importance of this, making sure we're connected with the student chapters, making sure we are, involved with the colleges and keeping in touch with the professors there, because even at some of the student chapters, they rotate in and out, whereas the professors there, they stay longer. And those are really relationships that we need to strengthen in order to build the next generation of journalists, and also to make sure that that next generation has the skills that they need to be successful, because being that we're in the field right now, we know what's happening and we need to be able to relay that information to them. So I think, some of the stuff that all the candidates have talked about so far are just all the things that we need to do to continue to build the next generation and also just, to help the organization.
All right, here we have a question from Juan Singleton. He writes, there is a president's race. Are you supporting one candidate over the other? You don't have to say who, or do you feel you can work with whoever is elected in that position? Let's start with Madison.
I asked before this about my facial expressions. Should have kept that in check. Let me be careful with how I answer this question, but I'm not a very gentle lady. So no, I don't think. I don't think this board can work with both candidates. And this is just a part of a lot of background on NABJ that if you don't know, you don't know. But like I said, stuff gets juicy sometimes, okay? So I think that there is one particular candidate that has experience working with the board. And if you've heard this candidate speak, that didn't come easy. There was some tension. I'm talking about Dorothy Ducker. See, told you I wasn't gentle. She said it was hard, to figure out how to work with the board. But she went through some steps and figured out how to do that, right? And then I think that the other candidate coming in is really trying to come in and just flip this over. But if you know anything about leadership, you need to have buy-in for leadership. You can't do anything as president unless your board agrees. And I learned that the hard way. I will tell you that. So I do think that if Manny is elected president, I think it'll be a complete stall. I don't know that anything is really going to get done, but I do think that Dorothy Tucker, I'll tell you why I'm supporting her. I think that, like I said, the advocacy has been big for me. I'm really interested in becoming more a part of those advocacy efforts. I think that there's a lot of work being done for members. And I also think that a lot of work has been done to build relationships with the board. And I'd love to come into a situation where people can work together, have learned to work together, although it may take some of that, for new members as well.
All right, then we're going to Atlanta to Texas. Hey, Eva, talk to us.
I honestly admire both candidates for having that heart for NABJ. I think anyone who has a heart for this organization, it's where you place your heart, and I think that no matter what, I'm going to be pushing and going hard for 3 the hard way, which is NABJ Region 3. And so no matter who is elected, I know my priority is for 3 the hard way. And so, I don't get into, I guess the whole character issues or whatever. I just want people to check their hearts, no matter what they do for this organization. But I know where my responsibilities lie, and I'm going to bring all of my experiences and work with the region to ensure that their needs are addressed and met.
Tamia, and then Brie.
Yes, so I won't say who I will be voting for this election because we, of course, still do have a candidate forum coming up, and I'm excited to listen to both candidates speak at that. I think that's incredibly valuable, and I hope that everyone takes the opportunity to do just that. I think listening is critical in our capacity as board members, even to get things done, to make sure that we're listening to others and making sure that we're advocating best for the people who are in NABJ. One thing that I will do as a student representative is advocate for students. So no matter who is elected, I will be working to ensure that students have the best possible experience in NABJ. And I can say that in this virtual setting over the past year, I have had a wonderful experience. And I think once again, building on that is what is most critical to me. And so I think that both candidates, as Eva said, have the heart to run. And I think that that takes a lot of courage and a lot of passion to do so. But the one thing that I hope that they do is keep students in mind. And I hope to hear them advocating for that and to speak about that in the forum in the upcoming weeks.
You candidates are so kind, so kind. Let's go to Brie. Hey, Brie.
Before I answer, I'll just say, having covered politics in DC for the past 5 years, I'm just going to to stay out of endorsing either one, because I think you have two different candidates. I think, you know, there's experience on one side, there's a push for change on the other, and so I think, you know, people should listen and decide which way they want to go. With that said, you know, I'm focused on Region 1, and I will do whatever it takes to work with whoever is elected. But then I will also do what I feel is best, or what seems to be best for Region 1. So that will be the focus. And then in particular, I do think Region 1 has been run well by the current director. So to me, that's who I will also you know, take some leadership. I think any smart newcomer knows to you know, go to the person who's been doing it well. So, you know, I hopefully can reach out to Tori if I have any concerns, and she'll, you know, help me, you know, to figure things out. But when it comes to working with the candidates, I'll do my best, but really the focus is going to be on what's best for Region.
Gotcha. Hey, Brother Ken, talk to us.
Yeah, listen to everybody's comments. I think it's clear that Tori Parrish is the best. She's not running. All right, look, it's clear for me. It's Dorothy Tucker. These are a few reasons why. Because every time we ran up on an obstacle during the board over the past few years, over the past couple of years, Dorothy has been right there. Every advocacy meeting that we've been in, ABC, Hollywood Foreign Press Association, ESPN, talking to other groups, she's been dogged. She holds people's feet to the fire. She insists on change. She insists on cultural change. So it's not just coming in and just looking out for an individual with a grievance. It is going through the checks and making sure that each and every person is taken care of. The other reason why is because she understands NABJ. Some of the things that have been implemented here, the producers database, I cannot tell you how many times I've been on the phone with a news director or with a GM, and I've fallen back on that database. And that database is a collection of information for which anybody can go back and not only just find a candidate for a position, but target what they're looking for, mid-management, what have you. I've gone back over and over again to that well, and then she came back and expanded on that and created an editor's database. So it works not just for broadcast, but moving into the role from VP of broadcast, which she held before me, to president. She made sure it works across the board. I believe she understands what's needed. I believe she understands, and one thing that she really worked hard on is making sure that we have a news network. So for the first time, and I don't know how many meetings I've gone to, board meetings for NABJ, where I've heard years and years past, we need to have our own source of revenue. We have our own source of revenue. We're putting that together. That'll make us self-sufficient and also provide phenomenal opportunities for our members to get engaged.
10 seconds.
Yes. Amir, we're going to end with you.
I tweeted this yesterday, so you know I'm going for Dorothy too. You know, macro, I'll speak on a microscopic sense. With the Atlanta chapter, Dorothy, I remember in 2019 when I voted for her, she was the only candidate to come to Atlanta, physically come to Atlanta. Everybody else was virtual. This was before COVID, so that really spoke a lot to me. She lives in Chicago. Secondly, she was the only candidate to reach out to us during our whole finance situation. Shout out to all the NABJ presidents that, you know, reached out, the NABJ local presidents that reached out to the Atlanta chapter, but there were certain chapters that didn't reach out. I don't need to get into that because we're not doing that today. But, you know, as far as the question is, can I work with candidates that I didn't vote for or anything like that? Yes, like journalism in and of itself is a team sport. So just because I didn't vote for somebody, should that person win, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to do anything because, you know, you didn't win. Like, you know, this is all about teamwork, dream work is what I always, so yeah, it doesn't matter who wins. I'm going to work with them either way. I'm going to look out for digital members, but I am voting for Dorothy.
Gotcha. Tell me, what else do you bring to the table? Because we know there are some meetings, some behind closed door meetings, and there will be discussions with the board when it comes to making financial decisions on behalf of members and things like that. And I want to know, I know that you are all accomplished in your skills in journalism, but what other skills do you bring to the table that can help the NABJ board go to the next level? We'll start with Madison.
Absolutely. So for my role, obviously as secretary, it was one of those positions that I had to look to our current secretary. And I said, you know, what is important to bring to this? You've been working with this board for a number of years. And I think a skill that I can apply to that conversation I have with her is focus. I, number one, hate meetings. So I'm constantly, I'm like, what are we here for? This is what we said we were going to do. We're not talking about this. And I think that is so important in meetings, bringing focus, reminding people, like I said, I'm keeping track. So I'm like, no, now hold on, Tamia, you said this. So what are we going to do with this information? I hold people accountable. I keep people focused. And then I also, I advance things. So I know that the role of secretary is really to keep things, you know, here, keep a record of this or that. But like, I think that if anybody knows anything about any role or anything I bring to an organization is we're going to move forward and action will be taken. And that is part of my platform: advocacy, accountability, action. Something is going to happen and our members will see that. Wow.
So our members will see our minutes on time on the website. Is that your promise?
Well, you're gonna see that. So this is something I talked about in previous forums. We got a new website and it's super pretty. It's just, I don't know how to find what I need on it. So I'm like, and also being a member of one of the younger generations, not that old, I know that I'm not going on a website to find what I need. If it's not gonna hit me as I'm scrolling through Twitter, maybe in a little graphic on Instagram, I promise you I'm not gonna find that. So honestly, I think that's something I know it's something I'm going to work on. Making that information accessible, putting it where you are already. And that's different for each type of member, but there's a way, and I might use Amir's help for this in the digital space, to reach each individual person, each individual generation with those minutes. And even understanding, sometimes I'll be reading minutes, I'm like, what does that mean? So even translating it.
And I want to park right there for a minute. So what other innovative and creative thing that a secretary needs to do in order to advance and to elevate and innovate NABJ with secretary?
I think you have to have an understanding of the digital space, like I just said, you know, learning how to make graphics, learning how to, I even did this in my journalism. I'll translate for my journalism. A lot of times you post your story and you move on. And I was like, honestly, that's not getting to people enough. So with my work and what I'm even gonna do with these minutes is like, here's my story. Let me tell you the important things you need to know from it. Let's engage this. I might even translate, you know, I might use a little bit of hood language in there because I know that I'm who I'm talking to, okay? Professionally, respectfully, okay? So I just think that definitely breaking it down into different formats for the different spaces, saying, hey guys, we're having a meeting tonight. If you wanna watch, you probably don't. Here's where you can do that. If it's a public meeting, but then also here's what happened. Like what you said, I heard you slip that in. You said in a timely manner. I'm very efficient and I don't like things on my to-do list. And that's another thing that I think is really important for people to know. If I know I have to get you minutes, I don't want the hang in my head, I'm busy. So it's going to be out as soon as possible so that you can see and I can move on.
Right, so we're going to have some swag in our minutes, huh?
Just a little bit, you know, I might thug it up, throw a little gift in there if I think it's appropriate. I don't know.
You're going to put your little hot sauce on it. I got it.
Yeah, you'll see. You'll get the personality. I mean, I'm sure you could tell from this forum, I have a little tiny personality that I like to show at certain times. So you'll know it's me. I'll say.
All right. Then Eva, talk to us.
The skills that I bring, gosh, I've worked in multiple facets of this industry, just the communications field, multiple capabilities from technical to creative. But I think most importantly, the skills that I bring are people skills, you know, and the art of negotiation. I understand that I don't have to always agree with you, but we must come together to figure out a solution that will benefit all of our members or all parties that are involved in whatever decision we're making. So I feel that those are the skills that I bring.
Thank you. Tamia, talk to us.
Yeah, so I am super excited, hopefully can bring a lot as a young person coming into this committee and bringing all the perspectives of all of the students who I hope to work with in the coming months and year, and talking about the issues that are important to them and what they would like to see brought to NABJ. Some of the skills that I bring in terms of multimedia journalism I have a podcast right now called Podcast Your Vote, and I would absolutely love to do a student-centered podcast, whether that focuses on roundtables with students talking about issues that they care about or bringing on experts that they can learn from. I think that doing things that are more interactive and engaging for students would be really fun and exciting for them to see and to engage with on a daily basis. One of the other things I think that students would really deeply value is more highlights of their peers and seeing what other people are doing so that they have a groundwork laid for them in terms of what they can do. So whether that be a weekly social media highlight of 5 or 6 student journalists who are, submitting some of their work that they want to be presented on the NABJ social media or on a website, I think that that would be valuable to not only make students feel appreciated and uplifted in this field, but also once again to show some foundations for younger journalists getting into this work of what they can do in the future. And another thing that I would really like to do in my time in this position, in addition to being on the board of directors, would be to have quarterly roundtables or forums with students where they can just share issues or things that they're experiencing that they can share and meet other people in different chapters and organizations to help them get a better feel for what else is going on in the journalism field, but just to feel more connected to NABJ once again and to people on a national level on an annual and more frequent basis than just the conference. So those are some of the few ideas that I have for how I want to get students engaged. And I think all of those things could really help to put them into the fold of NABJ.
Sounds good. Talk to us, Brie.
Well, when it comes to the skills that I feel that I bring to NABJ, other than experience, I think, or experience just in the broadcast field, I think just my background overall, growing up playing sports, I played basketball at the University of Maryland, where I served as team captain. And I think that skill transitions into the newsroom as well as into an environment when you're working with other people towards a common goal. So I think that's just something that's been ingrained in me, the whole teamwork aspect, the whole, find your role on the team, do your role well so that the team, moves forward is something that has always been instilled in me. So I think that is one unique aspect that I can bring to NABJ.
Hey, Ken, we're going to talk to you and then we're going to talk to Amir.
Okay. So, I've been doing this for a long time. It started in college. I was a member of the board of trustees for my university as student body president. At that point, I had a personal budget of $91, almost $100,000 that I was accountable for. I had a staff that I was accountable for. So doing all those things are important and helpful. And the biggest thing, though, I think, and I mentioned a bunch of stuff that I've done, but everywhere that I've done something, I've learned and I've picked up from. I don't want to name drop much, but there are people on this thing that I have to thank. I'll even say with Dedrick, just following, listening to him with NABJ, Eva worked very closely along with Jaya, and Dr. Sib, who's on here, worked very closely with me. Any success I've had as a regional director, their fingerprints are on that, as well as Juan's fingerprints are on that. Cheryl, I'll pick up the phone and I'll talk to her from time to time and say, Cheryl, what do we need to do? What are we doing differently? How do I do things this way? Amir and Madison, I've worked with them with advocacy in their areas. Melanie, I've worked under her and learned so much from her. Tori Parrish, and she and I have worked together. It is the ability to sit in a room, and I will tell people sometimes when I lead a group, I will say, look, if I am the smartest person in this group, I'm at the wrong meeting. And that's to challenge me to be better, but that's also to challenge that group not to sit there and listen to me talk over and over again. This is not what this is about. This is a group engagement. Everybody has a voice, everybody has an opinion, and sometimes your input, and some of these people I mentioned, they know what I mean because they pulled me back from things and said, no, you're gonna make a mistake. And I say, no, I wanna do it. And then I realized, you know what, if I didn't listen to them, I would have made a mistake. So his ability to listen to the people that you work with, get a good group of people together, a good team, and follow the direction of the group and make sure that they just keep focused on what we're doing, but listen to the people you work with.
Okay, Amir, let's wrap it up with you.
Got you. Last but not least, as they say. What I bring to the board is communication and transparency. I've been talking about the finance situation all night, so I'll just go first with that. During the finance situation, I was real big on transparency because I noticed, like, as a journalist, we're all journalists. I noticed that, when bad things happen with companies often keep it in-house. They don't tell their patrons or their customers or their members what's going on. as soon as the finance situation hit NABJ, I wanted to put out a statement. I typed up a letter, wanted to put it out to members so people knew what was going on. People saw the end product on January 22nd when I put out that letter. There was a lot of other stuff that I wanted to put in that letter, but I understand that, because of investigation and stuff, I couldn't put in that letter. The situation is done now. But beyond that, I'm real big on transparency. If somebody asks me what's going on with AABJ right now, I'll tell them. As far as that, I'm also big on communication. When I was HRBNP PR chair, every Friday I put out a newsletter. They loved that. I was PR chair for about a year, and they loved the Friday newsletters that I would always put out. ABJ, I'm always about highlighting members. Anytime a member does something, I want to put it on our Instagram. I want to put it on Facebook. I know a lot of journalists aren't big about, promoting themselves, but, if you're not going to promote yourself, then your organization should be there to promote you. I'm also about working smart and not hard. I almost said working hard and not smart, but I'm also about working smart and not hard. A great example of that is with ABJ's newsletter. It's called the Byline, and then our broadcast show, it's called In Contact. They were two separate entities prior to me getting on the board. So In Contact would do their stories, Byline would do their stories, and I was like, why don't y'all just come together and talk to each other about the stories that y'all are doing? And so, Raisa, who's on the call now, and, her and Carvis, my VP of broadcast, they work together now. As far as, and then my last thing is I'm a doer. So like, if I put my mind to something, it's going to get done. As corny as that sounds, ask any of my that I've ever worked with. Matter of fact, you can ask the Ida B. Wells Society. Me and Raisa, we put together a 3-part series in Atlanta. And the one thing that she said was at the end of our first meeting was, wow, this is a really productive meeting. And I was like, do you not usually have productive meetings? So yeah, that's what I bring to the table.
Gotcha. We're getting ready to wrap up. And if you can give us a lightning round, Amir, someone asked, you are currently the AABJ president. What are you doing to prepare for your new role as VP of Digital? Will you hold on to your AABJ presidency?
I will hold on to my
AABJ
presidency for 3 months.
You said for 3 months?
My tenure ends, and I will no longer know what I'm doing. Got to do the math. I'm a journalist, so I'm not good at math. So August, September, October, November, December, 4 or 5 months. I'll be president and VP of Digital to handle that. As far as what I'm doing now, I'm talking to everybody. I'm talking to everybody and their mama. If you were on the board ever in your life, I'm talking to you. It doesn't matter if you were on the board in 1975 to now, I'm talking to you. I'm calling everybody that I can to ask for advice and everything like that, because I know it's a big jump going from local to national.
Jaya wants to have you repeat what you said. Journalists, can you repeat what you just said?
About everything or?
No, about how long will you be AABJ president, and what are you doing to prepare for your new role? You said 3 months.
Oh, how long will I be AABJ president? It's like 4 or 5 months because my tenure ends in December.
Okay.
So up until my end.
All right, good. And Ken, for 30 seconds, can you tell us how do the finances of NABJ, what do they look like?
They're in great shape. But we know this, money spends fast and it disappears. If you ever broke a 20 before, you know how quickly it goes away. So we have to be really smart with what we do with what we have now. Even though we have a surplus, it doesn't mean it's gonna stay there. There's still bills that have to be paid.
Gotcha, we thank you. So now we will have your 1-minute closing statement. It was very fruitful discussion. We're going to start with Madison, Eva, and then Tamia. Your 1 minute starts now, Madison.
Yes, sir. First, I just want to say this is the best forum I've attended. Thank you for the questions. We've had such a lively discussion. I'm glad I was able to share more of who I am and my ideas. And I think, I wrapped it up. I'm here to do something. Even though it's a secretary position, it's not fancy, it's not sexy, but I think there's still work to be done. And if that's anything I want you to know about me, is that we will be moving this organization forward. I love Hamilton, I want a seat at the table, okay? I want to be there for all the action. I want to be in the room when it happens, room where it happens. Ooh, do I like Hamilton that much? I don't know, okay. So I'm really excited for this position. I'm excited for the board. I'm excited for for the relationships. Like Amir said, I've talked to so many people. I've been working to build relationships. I've been working for you for years, and I've been working to make sure that when I become a part of this NABJ board, we're able to do what I said and move forward.
Sounds good. Thank you, Madison. Eva, let's go to you.
It was 1999, and NABJ founder Norma Adams Wade nominated me for the presidency of the Dallas-Fort Worth Association of Black Journalists. I've been working hard for this organization since the mid-90s and in several different capacities on the national level. The national level, chairing the two conventions, gave me the opportunity to see the inner workings of NABJ, working closely with the national office to see the talent and skills that are also at that level that make this thing work and make this thing go. I've served as the lead multimedia specialist on the J-Shop program. NABJ J-Shop is for high school students. I've worked with the youngest members all the way to the most senior members of this organization. Joining this board is not a training ground for me. I've been doing the work for so many years, and I will go hard for 3 the hard way, NABJ Region 3. If you allow me that opportunity, again, I want you to check that box and give me your vote of confidence as we go hard together for NABJ Region 3.
All right, then. Thank you, Eva. Let's go to Tamia. Hey, Tamia.
Hi, thank you so much to everyone who stayed on to this call and listened to all of us speak today. It's been such an honor to speak with all of you and to hear from you. I think one of the best parts about being a student in NABJ is the opportunity to learn and grow. And not only did I learn and grow in just being on this panel and listening to all of the other speakers, but I know that in this position, I will seek out opportunities for students to do the same. I have a long history on my college campus, whether I'm doing student council or being a journalist and advocating for people by allowing their voices to be represented in the stories that I write, or even in just serving as someone who works with voting and students who want to make their voices heard about the issues that they care about on campus. I'm very familiar with listening and with making people feel uplifted in the ideas that they feel are most valuable and most critical to expressing who they are as people and to effectively doing the work that they want to do. And that is exactly what I hope to do in this position. And so I'm so excited and thrilled to be working with these people in the future and to continue to expand our NABJ family to younger people, to high school students, to college students, and to everyone who hopes to make their voice heard through the field of journalism and advocating and working to make the voices heard of people who are underrepresented in our society, and also to inform people, because that is so critically important in this day and age.
All right, then. Thank you, Tamia. Let's go to Brie.
I want to say thank you for having us all here tonight, and thank you for those that have joined. I just want to take this time to say I've been an NABJ member for over 15 years. I helped start a chapter. I founded a chapter and served as president in Southwest Virginia and was able to make an impact there. We made a difference with a small group. I want to bring those skills and do that on a greater level now that I have the opportunity. I want to be able to really improve what we've done in Region 1. I really want to make sure that journalists are empowered and have an advocate to speak up for them, and also are better prepared to be competitive heading into the 21st century. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this board. I'm excited about this opportunity, hearing all the other candidates talk today. I am excited about the future of NABJ, and I just am grateful for the opportunity to be a part of that.
Thank you, Brie. We're going to wrap it up with Ken and then Amir.
Look, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you guys. I know on a Wednesday night, the finals are on. You could be doing anything else, but thank you for giving me these few minutes. I remember when my 2 terms as president of the Charlotte Area Association of Black Journalists ended. I remember thinking, I'm cleaning out my garage, all the material is going to be gone, and I'm going to be fine. And after about 2 weeks, I was like, I need to do something else. I really enjoy working for you. I love working for you. It is a passion. I'm not sure exactly where it came from, but I've really relished the opportunities that were given to me to work in every one of those areas that I talked to you guys about, because I grew and I helped to serve. And that's what I'm here for, not to stand in front, but to serve. And I hope that you'll see me fit to be your VP of broadcast again. I'm running Unopposed, but I still want your vote. It means something to me. Engagement means something to me. Inclusion means something to me, and your vote means something to me. Thank you.
Gotcha. And we're going to wrap it up with Amir.
So I wouldn't be where I am today had it not been for NABJ. This organization has given me so much, and I'm glad to just give back, and I'm eager to learn in this new position that I'll be in. I want to thank everybody for having me today and the great questions that you've all asked. And I know I'm running opposed, but I do think it's important that the NABJ members get to see and interact with me. And I look forward to working with all of you should I win. If anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns for me, I'm going to put my Twitter in the chat as well as my email. So thank you all for having me tonight.
Thank you. And all of that information is on the website as well. And before we leave, I want to say something from Lisa Cox. She is a former NABJ secretary, and she says the NABJ secretarial position is an integral and important part of the organization. So, so we know that the new secretary will live up to that accountability. Listen, so we are doing some more debates. We are going to be talking to the contested races. These are presidents running for NABJ, and the next forum will be July 28th. Please write that down. And also August 19th. That will be during the convention. July 28th and August 19th. So I guess you can start voting now. So, so voting polls are now open. I thank you for your participation. You guys have a great day. And until we meet again, keep up the great work.